A few weeks ago, I did one of our 48 hours in service videos with Ben Shewry at his restaurant Attica. Ben is one of the most creative human beings I've ever spent time with, and I absolutely adore him. He's a good friend of mine. He's also doing some incredible things in the hospitality community to bring awareness to how kitchen culture has affected a whole generation of chefs, and he's kind of leading from the front at the forefront of kind of making some change in the way that our industry has been treating people, and it's incredible to see. We had a huge amount of footage from this video, including this fantastic interview that I'm about to share with you. I obviously couldn't make it all in the main video channel, but I kind of felt like it needed somewhere to sit. So today, that's where this interview is going to be shown. If you haven't seen that video on the main channel, 48 hours in service at Attica, then the link's above. Click on it and go watch it before you watch this. It's some of our best work yet, and I'm super proud of it. Otherwise, tune in for this interview. It's a really cool one. And Ben, if you're watching this, love you, bro. So Ben, my friend, it feels weird interviewing a friend. I don't know why.
It is. It's not the first time though.
No, it's not. It's not. But as a fellow Kiwi, how do you think that kind of shaped you, as a human, and as you're kind of growing into your more mature years, shall we say? I'm not going to call you old by any stretch, but how do you think that shaped you, and how do you think it's kind of, steered you in the direction that you've gone, both as a chef, but just I think as a human being?
I think there's a few things to being a New Zealander. One of the main things is the feeling of being an underdog.
Yeah.
I think it's something that's super relatable to all of us. Coming from a tiny place at the bottom of the world, traditionally, especially before social media, not really having any attention cast on you, but also knowing through other examples that you could be world class.
Yes.
If you were really lucky and if you really applied yourself. But one of the main parts of being a New Zealander for me has been to have humility.
Yeah.
And humility is a beautiful thing for a creative person because it keeps you grounded and it allows you to focus on the work. And a real risk for any successful person is the feeling of adulation and success and the effects of that on a person, slowing them down creatively. Creativity is like something that you have to work at hard.
Yeah.
It's not, people look at artists and think, wow, they just create these things,
Yeah.
And in my example, it's a grind. As you're seeing, it's a daily job. It's coming back at it, back at it again. But humility allows you to keep it real and to remember that it's a really long life and that you can't get ahead of yourself. And that comes from New Zealand for me.
Yeah, right.
Coupled with a childhood of not a lot, didn't have a lot growing up. My folks weren't wealthy and we had to make our own fun and we had to look around us to express ourselves in the natural world and in the shed and my parents' life when I was a child was just a sort of a series of overcoming, problems and being out in isolation and not having anybody to save you when things went wrong. Those are great lessons for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like it's kind of lost a lot today, doesn't it? And, not lost, but I feel like it's even what you're doing with the Wednesday, chef's table, and talking to the team this morning, they're kind of like, oh, it's really nerve-wracking, and and which is, and I think, I know certainly being a young chef myself, and I'm sure you feel the same, but that was kind of like every day for the first 10 years of my career.
Yeah, disorientating, right? Being churned up in the midst of a wave. A really difficult thing to get used to. I think. I loved cooking more than anything as a child, but even when I come into the commercial kitchen, 16, 17, full time, it was like, wow, this is intense, this is hard. I love this, but also I hate it. There's that kind of complicated relationship between, beauty and tension in kitchens. And even in our kitchen, which is joyful and playful, there's still a lot of pressure. It's not really applied It's in blood more.
Yep.
You know, there's pressure from the customers. There's pressure from the history of this place. There's pressure from me because I want it to be great. But mostly, I would say they all put an enormous amount of pressure on themselves.
Yeah.
Like, and so the pressure that I'm putting is different. I'm asking you to be a good person. You know, to do a good job, to work hard, but to treat everybody with respect. That's super important. None of this really matters if we're acting like a bunch of assholes, Andy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point.
It doesn't. It's just not. It's not consequential to me at all. It's not really like what you do. It's like how you feel about it, and how you make other people feel about it. And the food is just a product of like trying to do a good job. You know, like it's just it's almost like kind of secondary now. You know, but it wasn't always like that. You know.
Yeah, I think that's part of growing as a creative too, is understanding that, like, to not actually care what anyone else thinks and just do what you think is good.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get to that point, and it's really hard. I know for me now, kind of in my second creative career effectively, to not chase, you know, always just chasing views is like the wrong path to go down. And I should just actually make videos I want to make as opposed to videos I think the algorithm will like.
And you're right. There's an addiction there that you've got to be mindful of, but you always have to remember that people are coming to you for your expert knowledge and your viewpoint, and nobody else can be you.
No, yeah.
Right? Like, as much as people want to, you know, all that any of us can ever be is the best version of ourselves. And I think when you realise that, you know, hopefully you realise it, you know, younger rather than older. But it doesn't really matter when you realise it, like, as long as you do.
Yes.
Because, you know, I am the cook that I am simply because I couldn't be anything else. Like, you'll see me trying to cook duck tomorrow. It's so unnatural to me. Yeah. You know, I'm not a classical cook. You know, I have an interest in it. So I can't be that person, you know, but I can be the cook that I am, you know, and I know that. So I lean into that. And I've just been really lucky that others have believed in that as well.
Yeah. So I want to talk about those early days of you in the kitchens. You know, what are some of the key things that you learned, and what are some of the key things that you learned that you maybe have worked really hard to stamp your kind of, you know, your stamp on now to change in the industry?
Oh man.
I know that's like a really loaded question.
Yeah, it's a heavy question.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm reflecting upon in the last year since I wrote my book was, how did I survive that? Actually, like, I've seen a younger version of myself and different people that I've met on the road who've told me their stories about, you know, being abused and being, you know, subjected to things that are inappropriate and not right in kitchens. And it made me think about all those times that I was, you know, I remember the first real kitchen that I worked in where everybody was drunk, like during service, except for me. And everybody could go out for a smoke, except for me. I didn't smoke. And so I was bullied, because I didn't do those things, that I wasn't going to be a boy's boy. And if it wasn't for this like deep love of cooking that I had since a tiny child, somehow as a 17, 18-year-old I was able to grasp onto that love and always. But for a lot of people that's not been the case, and they've been forced out of kitchens. Yep. And that makes me really sad. Look, I've met, you know, probably 100 of them across the last year. And so my responsibility today is to, of course, not perpetuate that, but to promote, you know, a healthier way of being in kitchens, one that's more based on common sense and reason and normal standards of decent living, like nothing exceptional, Andy, you know, like just, you know, having a gender balance, having women in charge, you know, in roles of leadership, and empowering them, not tolerating any of the things or perpetuating any of the things that I was subjected to, you know, and also saying to everybody, you know, this can be your calling. You know, this can be our life. This is a profession. We've got to take it seriously and treat it with the respect that it deserves, like any other profession that's respected and admired in our society. You know, it can be as important as those more important jobs, you know.
Yes.
And if you stick to it and you do the right thing, you know, and you find the right people and you hold on to them, it can be as meaningful as well, you know. Never be as well paid perhaps, but, you know, I think when we think about wealth and equity, now you've also got to include in that equation the experience that you're having and the enjoyment that you're receiving from what you're doing. And so if you can find a job that perhaps is less, pays a bit less, but is really high on that good feeling, you know, that you get in the best days in restaurants, that's worth something too.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, but this like theory that like in the 70s jobs changed from, you know, if you were sitting in a bar and someone asked you what you did for work, like in the 70s, before the 70s, it was all about cool jobs. And then it feels like after the 70s, it was about how much you earned. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I
that's
think,
true, actually,
you know, cooking's kind of a cool job now, but you don't earn very much money. And it was like a lot of those cases, and now people aren't interested in whether your job's cool or not. They want to know how much money you earn for some reason.
No. And then on the flip side too, like, you know, we have a bunch of people here that are earning a lot more than people who have gone to university and studied for 5 years, you know. And that's not making any kind of comparison about who's worthy of that. But everybody here is more than worth what they're paid, you know. But it also makes me proud that that's the truth, and that people here have a life. They're working 4 days. They have 3 days off. They, you know, they can afford to go to the gym. They can afford to go to restaurants. They can afford to pay their rent. And some, you know, have families and have bought houses. It fills me with a great sense of pride, you know, that can happen in this restaurant and other restaurants, you know, because that should be commonplace, you know, for us, for our people. Yeah,
because it's such a responsibility to employ people, isn't it?
It's a huge responsibility, you know. I always think about it a little bit like parenting in a way. I know that's maybe corny, but one thing I think about is I would really like to be able to look the loved ones of our employees, of our staff, when they come for dinner here, and they often do, in the eye.
Yeah.
You know, and I would like to be able to say something nice about their child or their wife or their husband to them, but mostly I would like to be able to look them in the eye and know that I've done the right thing by their loved person, their most special person in the world, and it really matters. You know, like it matters a lot to me that, like, being able to kind of meet them in the dining room and know that you did, you know, as much as you could for them. That you didn't just take, that you were giving back, and that you were educating them, and you were, you know, trying to build them up a little bit and teach them self-respect and those are things that they could carry when they went to work somewhere else, you know.
Yeah, they left a better person, not only as a skill set of the job, but...
No, not only the requirements of my restaurant, of this restaurant, you know, it's got to be bigger than that. You're so crucial for this industry and for all creative industries, for the people who have influence and power, to understand that all of this is bigger than your own, just the immediate needs of the individual. You know, that there's a world and a community out there that needs people to stand up, to show leadership, to pave new ways, you know, like, and that's something that we try to do, you know.
So, sustainability is a word that I have a love-hate relationship with. It means so much, yet it feels like it's been completely washed away. One of the key things that I think is actually important in a sustainable business is a profitable business. What I'm assuming you agree with me, and if you don't, then I'm happy to kind of hear otherwise. But then, what are the other things that are important to you around sustainability that might not be the status quo?
Sure. Well, to me, all sustainability has to come from a holistic sense. It can't just come from one single line or single part of sustainability. Like, it can't just come from cooking with the whole animal. It needs to start with the selection of that animal. But that is only one tiny part of sustainability. For example, making really, you know, informed, scientific-based decisions about the sorts of ingredients that you use on your menu. It's only one tiny facet of it. I mean, waste is a part of it. I mean, the governance of the business is a big part of it. You know, how people are paid, what are their benefits, what are what extra things are you doing to care for them and their families. I think one of the big ones for me is engagement with the community and understanding that, if you are a creative business or a creative person, you do take a lot. You do borrow things and are influenced by things in society, in the culture. And so for me, it's important that I pay that back, I pay that forward. And so I act as a responsible business that doesn't just take but contributes to the culture and to society. It's crucial. So really, and then of course you've got your customers. So really, holistic sustainability to me, it's kind of a 360 look at all things, not just environment, not just people, not just business, not just community, but all of those things combined. And even then, even when you've eliminated plastic, even when you compost all of your food, even when all of your staff have a balanced life and are fairly paid, even when you do community service and don't trumpet it to the high heavens about how flippin' great you are, even when you do all of those things, you're still probably not going to be sustainable.
Yeah.
And that is the ultimate realization. So any restaurant really saying that they're sustainable, is kind of lying. Reality is that we're large environmental footprint businesses, and we're all on a sliding scale of better to worse. But not a single one of us, not even the most well-intentioned of us, is truly sustainable. Most would be, the same could be said for most businesses, of course, as well. But the idea, though, is that if you don't consider yourself truly sustainable, then you've actually got something to work towards, and improvements to be made. And for us, it's been really important that this is verified, these efforts are actually verified by a third-party organisation. And here, for us, it's B Corporation, and that is the only sort of environmental holistic certification that I know of that matters, that is of consequence and is incredibly hard to achieve. We certified last year. We will have to recertify next year.
Oh, wow.
So every 3 years. And sort of, I think we were the 24th restaurant in the world to gain that certification. So not many of us yet, but we want to encourage other people to take it up, and we are here for them if they need help. So, for us, it's just about setting a new standard, one that is going to give us a framework for how to move forward in the future, especially in the midst of a climate crisis. Cooks, waiters, restaurant owners, we can't sit on our hands anymore. It's time to act.
So, bro, you famously said you want Attica to be a great small business, not just a great small restaurant. What does that mean, and how does that play out every day?
What that means is I don't want to use the standards of restaurants to judge my restaurant, because I think those standards are completely broken and they're not really very meaningful. So if you view your business, whether it be a restaurant, through the lens of other businesses, many of which will have a higher standard than you, then that's much more meaningful, because you could have the highest environmental standard in restaurants, but if restaurants generally don't have a high environmental standard, then that's not worth the money it's printed on, is it? And so I always wanted to have a very broad view of business, and I wanted to have a lot of different influences and mentors from outside the hospitality industry. Because those people are like, in their startup or something, they'll be like, well, of course you have to have all these things done that you've never done before in your industry, of course, right? Like, that's not exceptional. And so it's refreshing and rewarding to be around people that do it at a higher standard than you. So, I really look to the company Patagonia. For a very long time has been a big role model for me. And they've been helpful collaborators as friends as well. One of the first businesses in America to become a B corporation, and so we all need inspirations, people to look to who do it well, who you admire, who you respect, that you can follow in their footsteps and sort of repave it a bit as well your own way, because the reality is, like, no one blueprint for business works for all businesses. We all run businesses in slightly different ways. So you've got to kind of find what feels right to you, and I think good intentions is a nice thing, but I think you have to pair good intentions with real work.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
and you have to get everybody on board in the organisation. You have to clearly articulate what the vision is, and then you have to get people involved.
Yeah.
Because one or two people, like Kylie and I, man, we're just a drop in the ocean. We need everybody to care about this stuff, and the way that we can get people to care is by showing them, by educating them. And people in our business have a really wide range of different interests. Some are more on like, you know, how do we reduce our waste, or, you know, how do we build a better reconciliation plan with Aboriginal Australians, or how do I like find like the most ethical source of this, or I really want to know how a profit and loss works, you know. So everybody has different interests, and we try to steer people to be involved in their interests. So Danny, who's in our front of house, is really interested in B corporations. So she will help Kylie next year with the recertification of our B Corp status. So that's cool, you know. But you've got to bring people along, you know. Like otherwise, it's just all just words. You're just filling space, you know, like just like blah, 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 blah. And like everyone's like, oh my God, what you know? What are they talking about? How this doesn't relate to me as an employee, you know. But when you can show somebody why this matters, like recently, we're getting off track a little bit, but like, you know, recently Murindindi Narangita, headman of the Wurundjeri people, came here and did cultural training with our staff. And as I mentioned to you earlier, we have a lot of international people, and a lot of them don't feel comfortable using Aboriginal words in day-to-day because they don't feel that them as foreigners that it's appropriate for them to be using it. And so somebody put their hand up and asked Murindindi, who had taught us a whole heap of words from his culture, that he was kind of he'd like us to use. And this person was able to put their hand up and say, hey, I don't feel comfortable. And he said, you know what, can you do me a favour and use them? Because you'd actually be helping me out, and it would be really meaningful for me. I'd give you cultural permission, you know. And this is coming from essentially the head of the state, you know. And so that's a really rewarding thing to enable to happen in a workplace, to allow somebody to feel empowered to engage with the culture of their country, you know.
And also testament for them to be comfortable enough to put their hand up.
Oh man, I thought it was that's such a good point. I thought it was such a brave question. And I was really happy to hear it. And of course, you need to build an environment where you do have that kind of, you know, there's the right word for it, but you know, cultural safety, I suppose, or freedom to express, you know, ideas and opinions. That it's, you know, groupthink's like a thing, you know, where you've got a very, very strong leader and everybody just blindly follows that leader, and if that leader walks off a cliff, then everybody follows. That happens in high-end restaurants, right? We've seen this in the beer. We've heard about it in other famous places. Really mindful of that, you know.
And I think, I mean, testament to that is your head chef, Matt. He's been with you since was not even a commie before he was even a qualified chef. So that's correct?
Second year apprentice.
So, you know, 14 years, and he's now the head chef of Attica. What sort of like change have you seen go through that young man in the last?
I mean, he's a remarkable young man the whole time. You know, comes from a really strong AFL football playing background, and you know, there's some negative stuff being said about young men and playing football, but the positive stuff is that it teaches you, you know, to be a part of a team and to put team first. And I think a person that can put the team first is a really valuable person, and it's a really underrated skill. So Matt always had a team mentality. You know, when AFL didn't work out for him, he found a new team in Kitchens. And, you know, he's just a really good dude. Like, it's just the easiest way to say it. Like, doesn't have a bad bone in his body, doesn't have any meanness about him, is incredibly humble, super hardworking, understands the fabric of the place, you know, understands what would be acceptable to me and to Kylie, because it's also standards that he's built. You know, it's not just me dictating to him. It's him saying, I think we should do this. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Like, go for it. Like, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to do this. Yeah, let's do that. Like, so you build things with people like that, and reward them and care about them. So yeah, like it's a beautiful thing to work with him. Like he's so solid. He really puts his best intentions into it every day. And then he goes home and he has his own life, like in a meaningful life. And I really like that too. And I don't bother him on his days off. I don't email him on his days off. Like when it's time to work, we work. When it's time to be home, I want you, like that's what I want. I don't want this to be everything to you. Yeah.
And working with him for the morning and knowing you, I think your skill sets are very complementary to each other. He's very much the operational guy, right?
He is very much Andy. That's a very astute observation.
It allows you to kind of really, express your creative muscle and walk into the kitchen and, stop the whole team to show them how to fry an egg.
No, exactly.
And he's like, all right, let's do
that. Here it goes again. No, and he's wonderfully organised. He's also motivated to be better. Yeah. He takes feedback tremendously, which is not. No, it's not. It's not especially when you've been working with somebody for a long time. And especially when you work in a place a long time and that place wants to change all the time, it's hard. It must be quite hard. I think I really admire his ability to be flexible. Yeah. And but really, like you need like a steady hand at the wheel. And because we have a lot of young people here. There's a lot of stress and there's a lot of emotions, and just somebody who's just calm, calmer than me, and just goes about the job. He's the last person that would ever look for. He's kind of like Kylie, like neither of them are looking for attention. Like it's a rare thing. Most people are going like, what's my angle here, other than doing a really great job?
Yes. Yeah, it seems to be a little bit lost, doesn't it?
A little bit, a little bit, but I also really believe in this young generation coming through. I won't hear people speak of them, with disrespect. I think I've met so many tremendous young people in the last 5 years. I know the young people who are my children's friends, and I've got a lot of hope. I think they're so much better than my generation. Yeah.
Well, I think it's just this default that you think that, I'm sure that our parents generational would thought the same about us, right?
We'd amount to nothing.
Yeah. Now look at us.
Working so many hours. I didn't want to be a farmer because I was going to go into the kitchen, which was going to be easier. Look who's laughing now, Mum and Dad.
How many dishes do you reckon you've developed at this point? Like actually developed to the point of on the menu?
I know that I've thrown away thousands. I don't know, like hundreds, many hundreds. Yeah. But I am not a record keeper.
No, okay.
I don't really believe that legacy has a useful purpose.
Sure, okay, cool.
Right? I just don't really care. What I believe, this sounds like dark, fatalistic, but what I believe is that you work and then you die, and then nobody cares 10 years later.
Yeah, well, no, that's true. 10, I think 10's even a stretch.
Probably. Maybe some people, probably right. 5, 2, I don't know. So if you kind of keep that in mind, then it's humbling, right? Because it allows you to reflect upon how much of this doesn't matter. Yeah. God, it matters a lot right now in the moment. God, it's going to matter a lot during service. Yeah. But cooking is brutal like that because you don't create anything that really lasts. Like an artist, another form of art, creates a song and it's recorded and it's there forever. Or television content, the content that you're creating could last forever, so long as no platforms fail, right? It could be there forever. But the meals that we cook in the restaurant, they are just like the fleeting moment, such a fragile environment, and so it's sort of hard for us in this way, because we've got to get up again night after night to perform you think about a musician does a tour and then has 2 years off, right? Like, I mean, there'd be some musicians that are listening to that going, well, that's not quite true. I've got to play every weekend. But we've got to get up every single night, 5 nights a week generally. And you know, doesn't really matter how good it was last time. The next time, you know, it's kind of got to be better, and otherwise people won't come. Of all the dishes, I mean, they're just a blur, you know. And one thing is beautiful, actually, though, is the feeling that you can keep doing it, you know. And like, we talked briefly about that lasagna consomme idea. I felt good to have that idea. Like, it came as a lobster mornay. So I was like, I'll make a lobster mornay consomme. I'm like, no, that's not quite right. That's like I talked about with Kylie. Yeah, and then Kylie's like, fish pie. I'm like, nah, not quite. Lasagna. I can see that I can separate the elements of lasagna to make that dish, but that's exciting. Like, man, it could be so bad tomorrow. But sometimes just having the idea is exciting and fun, and so the ability to keep doing that. And not really worrying about whether it was 2,000 dishes that you created before, or 500 or 200. And I'm not, like some people like religiously document all of the dishes and make books about them, and I think that's super egotistical and like just boring and also slow. Half your time is on keeping records. I'm moving too quickly to the next thing to worry about the last thing. And I really like that idea of evolution. Like, we don't return to, you know, our seasonal classics. You know, just kind of we work hard and we work kind of fast, but slow. Like when the dishes are ready, when they're really, really good, then they come on. Yeah.
So what's the longest period you reckon a dish has taken you to actually get right?
More than 2 years.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah. For sure. Because
any standouts?
There was this dish in this beehive. The beehive's actually in the cupboard behind me. I had this, like, I was driving, I was super tired, and the sign on the road said, pull over for a 15-minute power nap. So I pulled over 15-minute power nap. I had this, like, really vivid dream of beehives with the backdrop of a creek and a forest behind them on the family farm. I woke up, I was like, damn, honey. And you know, I thought, I've got to make a dessert in a beehive. And so I went to work and I thought about it, and I went home, and that night in the wood shop I started to make a tiny little miniature wooden beehive. And I came back to work with the beehive the next day, this prototype, and I started to make a dessert. But that wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. It was super hard. I mean, to get a dessert to look like honeycomb on the outside, that went well over a year.
Wow.
And then you get like a craftsperson to make the beehives beautifully from your prototype, and you find the right dish to sit inside there, and then, you know, I like that, but I also like simplicity too, right? Things, often on this kind of process of finding a dish or finding the soul of a food, the big idea, like the beehive, is actually not really where it's at. It's just something simpler learnt off to the side, which you find more profound. And I know it's not profound, but like that, discovering that I could fry and steam that egg, so I could have an egg which was like a fried and a poached egg this morning. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, that's kind of I showed you that because that's kind of useless, right? Like what is that? What am I ever going to do with a fried and steamed egg, right? Like, I mean, other than eat it at home. Can't see it going on the menu, but it's not the point. Like, it's just trying to find fun in looking for something. And then often, you know, you throw all of these things away, but there's one smaller, clear idea just off, like it's kind of like a tree with lots of different branches. You know, you're trying to reach the top of the tree, and you go down all of these different branches and side roads, if you like, and they're all dead ends. And it's over and over and over, and it's like incredibly frustrating. But if you've done it long enough, you know not to get too frustrated or disheartened by it. And you tell everybody, hey, we just got to keep going, even though they're getting frustrated because they're helping you. And then one day you arrive, at the end of it with something fully formed, which is nothing like the original idea. Right? I'm sure this whole process of making this documentary is going to be just like that.
Oh,
you start out thinking, this is the story I want to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. We do a whole pre-production, piece, but we know too right that like we're going to show up here and there's going to be stories that we're going to want to tell along the way that are super interesting, right?
Like this dude just wants to cook this weird egg. Like it won't stop. He's like,
that probably won't hit the and it's the same with anything in life. It's the same with like you start a business and you think it's going to like do this and it just goes in the complete opposite direction and you just. I think there's also power in like knowing when to go. You know what? That was just a shit idea, and to put a line through it, and then just to kind of
sometimes
move on.
You find out super quick. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, and I think that's the trouble is sometimes people don't know how to like elegantly give up on something.
Yeah.
Or they don't know like when to stop, or they're not like. I'm like incredibly self-critical.
Yeah.
Like absolutely brutal inside.
Yeah.
Like what you would see if you looked into my mind, the way that I'm treating myself sometimes. You'd disturb you, and so I'm pretty good at like by now knowing which are the good ideas. You can kind of see the head of the curve slightly, thankfully.
And are you kind to yourself when you decide that that's a shit idea, or do you beat yourself up about it?
It depends on how stupid I feel I've been.
Okay.
Like if I things will go wrong if I get distracted.
Yeah. Okay.
Like we'll make the consommes tomorrow. Now, like, it's going to be hard for me. Like, people will be coming to me, asking me questions. I'm trying to keep... Like, last week I made a consomme and it sort of boiled. And I was like, like inside, I was like, you stupid. Like me, not the person asking the question. You idiot, what were you doing? Like, why did why did you get distracted? It was a crucial moment. Like, so, it can be like, when things go wrong, when they go wrong, not when other people do the wrong. Like, actually, I don't like other people doing the wrong thing. But that's different than somebody making a genuine mistake. That's not bothering me as much. As long as we can have a conversation about it and they realise, hey, that's got consequences. It's more me. It's more about my failings, or and not like. Not in the ways you think. It's kind of hard to put a finger on it. Like, there'll be a dish tomorrow night that sucks. And I won't be chastising myself about it. I mean, I'll try to make it better.
Yeah.
But, I think it's worse when I make the mistakes. I don't mind other people making the mistakes. Because, it's easier to be kind to them, than yourself sometimes. But vocalising it, talking about it, helps.
Yes. Yeah, right. When you are mean to yourself.
Yeah, but even a conversation like this.
Yeah.
Because like, I could say, like if you spend a lot of time with me, like it might come out.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, damn, that's some really wacky stuff that you're saying to yourself, Ben. Like, I think you need to be a bit kinder to yourself. And Kylie would be that person to me often.
And pulls you up for it.
Yeah. And I would listen. Not initially. But
it takes
I'd be like, oh yeah, and you know what? That's a little embarrassing that I acted like that. Like, not at anyone else. Like,
So as like I call you a hyper creative. Like I think you have a very expressive, creative mind. How do you see when something's authentic versus just kind of creative for creative's sake? I guess.
Well, first of all, thank you. Appreciate that. I've not heard that. First of all. Not at all interested in anything fashionable.
Okay.
At all.
Okay.
Like I just wouldn't even know what was.
Sure.
And I think like for me, there's like I like cool things. Like I like beautifully designed things. I like things that are like really well thought through and like articulate. This like we're sitting in this office surrounded by art because this is informing me and inspiring me, and. So I think there's been a bit of a death of cool. And I don't mean like naturally cool, because a lot of what we see today is posturing cool and just doing stuff for tricks, And for me, there's a lot of trickery in cooking that I don't appreciate, I don't really care for. Like I don't really like it when people put lots of things on top of something. Like it really winds me up. Like I'm like, why would you do that? Are you hiding your poor cooking? Like
a plate of radishes come out. You're like, what is going on there?
Yeah, or like I don't know. There's a piece of fish and then it's got like 10,000 peas balanced on top of it. I'm like, that's some lame shit, But no, I suppose like where the real heart is actually in genuine deliciousness as well.
Yes.
You know? And
yes.
that, unfortunately, is a little bit of something that's been lost in fine dining.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it comes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is kind of that the best cooking is kind of informed by home cooking, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So home cooking is still kind of a foundation of my cooking.
Yeah.
Because home cooking is always based in deliciousness.
Yeah.
Something can be interesting, but it should still be delicious, at least to me, you know. And if it's not, then it's not really going to cut it. And I think back to things like, you know, the $1.50 incredibly life-changing taco that I had in 2008 in Los Angeles, you know, or the, you know, pea eggplant curry that I had in Talet Thai in Bangkok or outside of Bangkok in 2007, you know, earlier, in 50 cents. You know, I go, well, you want to honour those things that you had that were delicious and not insult people, you know, not those memories or the guests. So it's got to be delicious. And if it's cool, if it's genuinely cool, then it's speaking of you, right? That's the truest thing. It's not somebody else's idea. And that's the coolest. That's what I want to see when I go to a restaurant. Like, I want to see the classics or I want to see cool. You know, just either or, but not something in between, and not something that I've seen replicated for some, you know, famous place in Scandinavia. You know? I'm just not down with it. You know, I would eat that Scandinavian food. I'm going to go to Scandinavia. It's very delicious.
Yeah, and it's cool there.
Absolutely, it's cool. It's cool as shit there. It's not cool in this hot climate. The word
doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. It makes no sense. Like, that's not our culture. You know, things should reference places. You know, like that. That's for sure. Yeah,
I think one thing we bond over is like a love for the classics too, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah. I have like a secret, private love of the classics. You know? I cook them at my house for you. You know. And I take a lot of pride in that. I love that. I don't have an outlet for that here so much. You know.
So just good food done right.
And it's what I most want to eat.
You
know, because the avant-garde can so often be disappointing. You know. Found it in coolness and realism, and be yourself.
Are you a secret, or not secret, I guess a closet kind of takeaway guy? You know, like the commercial stuff, or you don't touch it, or chefs either go one or two ways.
No, I mean sometimes you can't avoid it. You know, I'm not like, no, I'm not draconian about it. You never eat that. Like, no, I'm not a snob. You know, like sometimes, like, the best thing to eat in the middle of nowhere is the best choice of a lot of bad choices. But and sometimes also it's a really funny thing to say, but like I've definitely ordered delivery food here many times when I'm working really long hours, and there's a time in the day in the kitchen where there's no food to eat, believe it or not. Right? We know this, right? But for people listening, they might not know that despite the kitchen running, you know, for 14 hours a day across different shifts, there's many moments where there's nothing to eat. And so you're building something, you've got to order delivery, you know, whatever it is. It's never very satisfying either, actually.
No. How many years do you reckon you got in you?
Great question, Andy. Nobody's ever asked me that. Nobody's cared enough. How many years? I'm 48. I couldn't see it going beyond 10.
Okay.
I say that now, but I couldn't have imagined doing it for 20. Like here, that's just wild. I'd say that I'm hugely motivated by the team. And so as long as the team, who evolves, wants to do it, then I'm going to probably want to do it. Because I come in every day and there, you've experienced it this morning, but there is such a positivity, and this is not a show for you.
No.
This is how it is, and so that is like pretty intoxicating. I look forward to it very much each day. I've set this place up so I never feel bad about coming here. There's no ugly situations, mistakes, grudges held day to day. Every day we clear the slate. If there's a problem, we talk about
Yeah.
it. Deal with it on the day.
Yeah.
Don't let it run into the next day, because next day is another fresh start, right?
Yeah,
like you want to come to work feeling good, not just me, but for everybody.
Yeah.
But it does apply to me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's set up in a really specific and weird way, and that is really a lot about trying to feel good about coming to work, and and so we really have very low levels of negativity here.
Yeah.
It's just by design.
Yeah. Yeah. You just don't need it, do you?
No, because it's a performance place. So
Yeah.
come back to that F1 analogy that you had earlier. Like there's no room for it. Like there's enough to do already. There's enough stress. It's hard enough. But yeah, no, I love working with the people that we work with, a variety of ages from young to old, and they're super motivating, and they do push me to do better. They really do. Like, it's super rewarding, and like one of the most meaningful things just for me personally that we did was 2 years ago we invested in an employee assistance program, and that enables our employees, our staff and their families access to 24-hour counselling, counsellors and psychologists for free, any time of the day or night. And that felt like, for me, just personally, a step forward for restaurants. Because I never had anything like that, and there's been times where I really could have used it. I don't know. We made the choice with them in mind,
And the team uses it?
Yeah, and if they don't use it, that money, which is quite a bit, is then used in different forms of training. So we've had sort of first aid, mental first aid training, which is challenging, really challenging. Dealing with people going through mental health crisis. Learning how to handle that, and we will all experience that as humans at some point in our lives, whether it be at work or in our personal life. We've had a really rigorous and amazing session on bullying, workplace harassment, and defining exactly what bullying is. And for most of us, we don't understand, we don't know what bullying is. So to have a kind of textbook definition and all these strategies of how to analyse whether it is, or how to cope with it and what to do, was a revelation even for me, who's been in restaurants my whole life. We've had transgender Victoria come and do training with us. We've had many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander trainers come and train our staff in cultural safety, and that sort of training is. It really, like, you see a lift in people when they're educated, So I really like that, and that's Kylie's, really drives that. Like, she's the person that's like, hey, we need to do this. I'm like, do whatever you want. This is awesome.
Yeah, because it does require someone to really drive that too, doesn't it? There's no point just kind of, you got to lead by example. You got to want to actually make change, and
you do, and you've got to, you've got to allow for it, and you've got to. Allow people sometimes a second chance, but you can't. It just can't be a command. No. And it can't just be words, Andy, and it can't just be the leader's words. Actually, that will never be enough. It needs to be a variety of perspectives. A diverse bunch, need diverse people training them. Yeah. Better keep going, huh?
Yeah.